So you talk about not to imitate other companies, but iterate your own path. Um, how do you recommend to start?
Right. So I recommend that companies start their iteration journey by implementing a lightweight, continuous improvement process with their leadership team. This is a really simple tactic, and you basically just invite your leadership team to a meeting once every 2 to 4 weeks for 30 minutes, and then you ask three simple questions. The first question is, what's working as a leadership team? Second question is, what's not working as a leadership team? And the third question is, what's making our journey less fun, right? And then the leadership team basically commits to doing more of what's working going forward. And they pick one or two of the things that aren't working or the things that are making the journey less fun. They pick those things and they prioritize some initiatives to try to improve them. And they go off and work for 2 to 4 weeks, and they come back and they inspect their work and they do the same thing again.
That's interesting. Um, so why is this an important starting point?
Yeah, it's a great question. For me, having done this for 20 to 30 years and having been someone who is a change agent and who has tried to be a facilitator of leadership teams and improving culture, I find this technique to be a very safe way to get started for a facilitator, someone who's trying to help company change. Because we've all tried to do this, where we go out and we learn a new process, and we bring our leadership team together and we try to lead them through a transformation, a pivot in their operating model. And 10 minutes into these conversations, you get a wicked sharp executive or one of your colleagues who starts to ask really tough questions about the process. But of course, you're not prepared to defend somebody else's process, right? Because you're trying to give them a recipe. And so if you give them a recipe, they're going to ask questions about the recipe, but you may not be prepared to answer it, right? And so in this way, I think you really put the facilitator in a position to be successful. And maybe more importantly, you put leaders in a position to lead their cultural transformation. I think if you do this, you kind of accomplish two things, right? The first one is you now have a leadership team that's practicing, continuous improvement, which is a huge accomplishment. And you also are now well on your way as an organization towards iterating towards a great culture, not just trying to imitate a great culture. So.